Hello, welcome to Framework. I am Al Schwartz. With me, as always, is John Bernard, who is currently way, way, way down in the hole.
Oh, yeah. Jeez, yes.
Or would you say we're crawling our way out? Is that?
Well, I guess so. I don't know. It's the end. Does that mean? I think we just if we're like the people of Baltimore, I think we stay in the hole. It's down with the devil. So that's Wire. We're finishing The Wire today. We've been watching The Wire all year. We're talking about season 5 of The Wire, the final season, the big finale of the greatest show of all time from HBO. Ended in 2008, I believe. A different world, and funnily, that's kind of like an optimistic moment. 2008.
It's strange that it feels that way in some regards because there's some stuff. The Wire is so pessimistic across the board, and yet there's some stuff that it just does not attempt to anticipate.
Yeah,
and that's the stuff that we're drowning in now. I don't know what the Wire's take on the AI bubble would be, but they didn't. It feel going to 2008 Baltimore is blessedly free of having to constantly worry about that stuff.
It is nice, isn't it, to just have all that stuff not part of this. To have, it does feel like a window to a simpler time watching this somehow, despite it being such a bummer, I guess, in objective senses. But it seems innocent in a way, which is a crazy thing to say about this show. But yeah.
Yeah, it's not reflective of the show. It's not. It's just how fast the world changed in the ensuing 15 years after this finale aired.
I mean, I would have said this was a pretty cynical ending, honestly, for a while, and I guess it is, but not as much as I remembered it, honestly. And maybe it's me that's changed. I don't know.
Well, okay, it is one of the more, I suppose, downer endings if you stack it up against other sort of like popular long-running shows. Within The Wire itself, this might be the least cynical season finale, in that there's a couple of kind of happier endings.
The majority, even, I would say, are kind of upbeat, which is surprising.
I mean, maybe we're so callous at this point that we're not sort of like taking in the tragedy of the newspaper storyline properly.
Well, sure.
Okay. The network of it all there is sort of maybe the social ills flowing out of that outweigh the fuzzy feeling we get from watching Bubbles go up the stairs.
I mean, there's some downbeat stuff. There's some negative endings. Daquan has a really unfortunate ending. There's a lot of people who do not end up in a good place here at the end of The Wire, ultimately. But even the ones that I remembered kind of being destroyed aren't really. Life continues for Jimmy McNulty and Lester Freeman. They're kind of okay.
Yeah, and you get better than anticipated endings for Bubbles, for Michael, for Lester and McNulty, perhaps. I think if I think about it and I give an honest assessment based on the show I've watched, actually, the endings for Michael and McNulty, their futures are not bright going from here, and yet, like in terms of just what I expected to bear witness to happening to them on screen, it's better than I was braced for. So there's that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is that. And even, I don't know, even something that is ostensibly kind of a down note, like Cedric Daniels' ending is actually he maintains his soul and is okay. Like some of the things that, they kind of, I don't know, might just love these characters a little too much to really just grind them into the dirt. Like I kind of seem to remember this show doing. That's the thing coming back to this now that struck me. I was like, this is not as dour as I remembered it being, which is, I don't know.
Well, that'll be interesting. Let's track that. There's something I want to ask you about. Okay. That is, before we get into specifics, I guess, very general overview stuff. So this is, by popular acclaim, the worst season of The Wire.
Without question.
It's only there's maybe a couple of sickos out there that say that this is the second worst, but everybody else kind of agrees. Mm-hmm. Some people, the disagreement is whether it actually sucks or whether it's just good and not outstandingly great the way every other season is. How much of that do you think is the actual qualities of this season versus the last season of a long-running show is much more likely to be the weakest section of that show than it is the most popular part of that show? And what just final season dynamics, those difficulties,
Famously, yeah, this has been a real issue of late. In fact, forget about 2008. We're talking about, just as recently as, it feels like every goddamn show that has a final season is a disappointment these days. Like Stranger Things is the first one that came to mind, but it's almost everything that's ended recently has been.
Yeah, Game of Thrones is the thing that comes to mind for me.
Certainly, that's the champion of disappointing final seasons. But
I would throw Lost in there as well.
Very much. That might be the one that started the trend.
For me, it was so easy to track what the problem was there. It's like, oh yeah, you guys have been writing selling wolf tickets for years in a way that The Wire has not. And
certainly.
And they finally cut to them. But for me, it's also, I have some quibbles with the finale of Breaking Bad, even though that might be one where actually the final season could be. Some of these are kind of muddled up by doing the 2-part final season thing, and that tends to have a weak sister and a strong sister there. But there are a couple of shows where the very finale stretch of episodes, I would think of as the high point of the show. And turns out that's the other sort of anti-hero shows we've covered like this before.
Yeah,
because the final stretch of The Sopranos and the final stretch of The Shield, I think, are the best parts of those respective shows. After coming after some the weaker parts.
I would have to agree. And, I think that they are sort of the things that prove it's not endemic to, any long-running TV show. You can build to something and have it be the best part of your show. It can happen. We've watched it happen on this podcast. And, I wouldn't say that The Wire does that exactly, but I would not put this in a tier with disappointing final seasons like Game of Thrones or whatever. Coming back to
Dexter or Sons of Anarchy, these things.
Yeah, no, this I think, in retrospect, I did not know where I stood coming into it this time because it had been a while. Having watched it again recently, I would have to say, no, this is not a bad season of TV. This is just technically the worst season of The Wire.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if this is a thing that is me being a crazy person or if everyone kind of feels that, and that's part of this whole thing of the final seasons being disappointing. When you've been following a show for years, is there a point for you somewhere towards the end where things stop feeling real within the world of the show? There's a certain body of the show that's unassailable historical fact of this story, but somewhere towards the end, you start seeing, maybe it's because we run these online circles that talk things to death. You're much more aware of the puppeteers and the strings, and you start going, well, I kind of see what they're going for there, but it couldn't have gone down exactly like that given the characters in the world I understand before. So I have to kind of squint around. I see what you're trying to do.
Well, I do think that is a thing that can happen in a final season, simply because you are trying to bring everything to a conclusion, trying to write yourself into a tidy resolution for all your various subplots and storylines, especially when you have a cast as big as The Wire or Game of Thrones, certainly. You are going to struggle with sticking the landing. Because the elliptical nature of The Wire has always been much of the point. But in a larger sense, yes.
You also, the more characters you have there, you have to stick more and more landings simultaneously. Whereas maybe something like Breaking Bad, even, The Sopranos or Mad Men, those had Sopranos and Mad Men had bigger ensemble casts, but if you got Tony
a main
Don's
guy
stuff right, then that was what it was going to be judged on.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened to fucking Harry Crane on Mad Men, but I don't really mind that because they nailed the Don story so well, That's a lot of stuff. That helps. But, you can still fuck it up, though. Look at Dexter, for example.
Sure.
Yeah, there's plenty.
I wouldn't say it makes it easy, but it makes a Game of Thrones or the Wire harder.
Absolutely. I think that there is a necessary contracting of the world, too, you know? I mean, that happens so literally in Game of Thrones. But everything kind of has to serve, you know, the narrative goal lines you've set out for yourself. I think this can happen in a fantasy novel, too. One of the problems with, our favorite, The Dark Tower, you know, it certainly has struggles landing the ship at the end because, you know, it has to get everyone in the same place. It has to, you know, pay off all these things that have been done, and it can't manage it all. You know, it can't give you the satisfying ending for every single thing.
That's probably the example. It has the clear. I mean, even though I'm talking about TV, The Dark Tower has the clearest delineation point between here's where I stop, like thinking of this as the real story. When I think back on the story, I'm never going to think about anything that happens past this point.
Right. It's fair enough. But it's got the ending. It does nail the main character's ending in a really significant way, and that goes a long way, I think.
So I guess that's the thing, is that I do buy that when I think back on what my personal headcanon of the Dark Tower story is. That is the ending for the main character, you know, the Don Draper character there. And then there's this big fuzzy part in the last act where you're like, I don't really remember everything that happened there, but I know that I didn't buy it. And so whatever. Okay. And that a little bit after The Wire, like these, I do think these are all the final resolutions for these characters, more or less, with maybe one exception where I am like, this feels like a departure into with the Marlowe character. I'm like, this feels less like strict that, you know, docu-realism you're going for that you kind of sold me on for all these other even you know, poetic fate like Stringer Bell. I buy the machinations on the street that led to that thing. I don't. The Marlowe thing feels like TV writers trying to go for something, which is we want a different resolution than we've done before, but not in a way I totally buy.
I guess so. It's frustrating, that's for damn sure.
But so is the Greeks getting away in season 2, and I buy those mechanics to get them away entirely.
I think you ultimately can't have a happy resolution because of the way they got there during the season. Like there's no way I'm going to buy that this all works out. You know, there's just no way. Like, you know, you can't make the charges stick if this is how you got there. It's just from a narrative standpoint, from the world that's been established, that would be very dissatisfying if it all worked out okay the way they wanted it to. And even then, if there was some like, oh, and then Michael got him or something at the end happened, I would be like, all right. I this is the thing. Like, David Simon has done an incredible job of making these sort of like broad canvas stories. You know, obviously they've compared to like Dickens a lot, or you know, they make a funny point of that in this season. But at the same time, none of his characters feel like they live in a novel. You know, they don't have tidy resolutions. They don't have complete arcs that resolve themselves on screen. And there's even characters that feel like that sometimes that are frustrated by those expectations because they live in a real world and everything is elliptical by its very nature. The Wire season 5 does kind of try to put them into a novel, I feel like.
I said the one part, the part where I really feel that is Marlowe's final scene where I'm like, oh, you walked into a novel resolution here.
Yeah, very much. Absolutely. Or Michael's final scene. You know, like a lot of the tidiness of the resolutions here doesn't feel very Wire.
I buy Michael's entirely. The tidiness there is more. It's a montage of
he's
all
picking
the
up
tidy aspects,
a specific banner and running with it. It's just like, oh well, he's the new Omar. Okay. I don't love that, just because it is a little too neat, a little too cute in a way. You know, like, well, this is how, you know, we have a perpetually, there's always going to be an Omar on the streets. This is how it feels.
Yeah, and I think that's very fitting with The Wire's ethos. Going back to the first season finale montage was, you know, new people taking over the pit and Bodhi moving up into the tower because these roles have to be filled. And
yeah, there's a mundanity to, you know, corner street drug dealing that you know, that obviously, you know, these people are anonymous in a way, you know, to the larger machinations of how the drug trade is working. Whereas, this is like, well, no, there's always got to be a specific avatar for a particular feeling about these things. There's a sort of a Robin Hood-esque figure that robs other drug dealers. And, it's just like, well, I don't know if that character is just naturally going to occur over and over again.
I think that the Robin Hood angle is the part maybe that you're bumping against.
Maybe.
Because they talk about that when we're talking about the general concept of stick-up boys, there are going to be people around an illicit cash business where people can't report armed robberies to the police that are going to attempt armed robberies.
Is it the first scene in the show, I believe, the story of Snot Boogie sticking up the poker games and they keep letting him back in?
Well, he doesn't do an armed robbery. He just grabs the money out of the craps game and bolts.
Okay.
Omar and Michael both striking such sympathetic figures within that mold. We never got the sort of probably the more realistic angle of the stick-up boys, which is that they are as bad or worse than the crews they're robbing in most cases.
Yeah.
But I also think there, again, it's the overall presentation more than the particulars. Do I buy that Michael becomes a stick-up boy? Sure. He's not left with a lot of great options at the end. If it didn't come, maybe you would have done better with that scene if he just wasn't wielding a double-barreled shotgun for the first time ever for it. And then it goes directly from that to Sidnor, talking to the same judge that was McNulty's buddy. In the exact same way and parroting the exact same lines. Mm-hmm. And, does it need to be that neat? And maybe for the series finale, it kind of does.
I don't think so. Not for this particular show. I don't need fucking Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Batman now at the end of The Wire. It's okay. Again, I don't think anything this season does is a disaster. I don't think any of this is terrible or show breaking or anything like that. So, I'm okay with some of this thing. It is a TV show at the end of the day. I do want some narrative closure and resolution for these characters. And they handled it mostly pretty well here.
Yeah. I think the big problems here, they mostly come out of the reduced episode count.
I actually thought that was okay. I didn't mind. They got a complete story here, I thought.
I think I'll by an hour from now when we wrap up, I think I will have convinced you otherwise. But So the very first episode of the season is titled More with Less. A season that was cut down to 10 episodes after every prior season had been 12 or 13. That's like almost too perfect in a meta way. You never get that cute intentionally just for a conceptual structure gag. But
it's literally what the newspaper is going through. So, they can get away with it just in that context.
Yeah, and it makes it the central lie of this season. You can do more with less. The editor meeting where the suspenders guy lays out his vision for the Pulitzer bait expose on the school system and the Dickensian aspect of the lives of the student that articulates it very directly.
Yeah.
He says, I don't want this whole thing to be so reductive as to Johnny can't afford his pencils. But, my whole thing, that kind of is reductive to that. If you're going to reduce it down to anything, that's going to be the final line,
Well, okay. Should we talk about the newspaper here?
Yeah.
Okay. This is I think the problem. This is the least effective thing in the season, I think, and a big part of that is, it's just not integrated very well into the rest of the world or to Baltimore, and it becomes very quickly. There's an interesting thing that it's doing at the beginning, which is that it is kind of this metaphor for how to package a story. It's kind of what The Wire itself is doing after a fashion. That sort of reportage angle that we were talking about. They're literally reporters here, trying to tell the story of the urban decay, and that's where I wish this story lived. Instead, I would say 3 or 4 episodes in, it becomes completely the Templeton is an asshole story, and there's very little else going on in the newspaper, and I guess that relates to McNulty. But the way the McNulty stuff is handled is so much better than the way the Templeton stuff is handled that it just becomes this extraneous bad part for me. And I don't buy this character. I don't think it's interesting. It feels like very axe grindy in a way. And yeah, none of this stuff
does.
works after a point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've several theories for why the paper stuff does not work as well as subplot as the ports do
Yeah.
in season 2 or whatever. One, I think the journalists are more of a remove from the dangers of the crime storyline.
Absolutely.
In a way that the port characters or the kids in season 4 are not. I'm not saying that there's no stakes for Gus and Alma here, but
Kind of seems like there's no stakes.
well, they're not. I mean, they could lose their jobs and their vocation is at risk or whatever, but they're not a direct risk of washing up in the crack houses with Bubbles or being recruited to murder people with Marlowe if they don't take the last round of buyouts. And you can say, okay, fine, like Carcetti and Royce are not really in that kind of danger either in the City Hall storylines, but the politicians can still be drivers of the stories, like that manifest their choices manifest consequences in the street storylines in a way that the reporters can't really, other than the fabulist, because the reporters are by vocation dedicated to being observers and sort of chroniclers after the fact.
It is a difficult story to tell, honestly, and difficult to integrate into the whole. There's no question about that.
Yeah. So it's only Templeton's bullshit that can be a proactive cause that will create any ripple effects on, the storylines with the higher, or at least most immediate stakes.
Yeah. And it's a sort of a poor sister version of what McNulty's doing anyway, And we have like a nuanced understanding of why McNulty's doing what he's doing. Templeton, he's just the devil. He's the most boring devil imaginable. And I don't care. I don't give a shit about him. I think it's silly that he's protected as long as he is by David Costabile. I think they kind of oversauce the the salad on how ridiculous he is with his purple prose and shit like that has no place in any newspaper I've read. Well, and I just like, why is this happening?
It does. That is one thing. Okay. Templeton being one of the most sort of one-dimensional villains that the show does, I think could be fine on its own. I don't know that you need the 2 editors above him to also be as one-dimensional. Like you mentioned, David Costabile, as the middle guy above him, and then the guy I just call Suspenders. Between the 3 of them, they could have one added dimension somewhere. Is what it feels like. Except maybe when you lose 2 or 3 episodes, that's a type of shading that doesn't make it through the grate.
I'm prepared to allow for that. That is true. Or it's just, more boring scenes at the newspaper. I'm not sure. Like it didn't seem like there was no time for that here, honestly. They could have figured out, like, one scene would have made a difference, of them acknowledging some of the stuff Gus is saying, even, just other than just shutting it down completely.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem, is that they don't even string him along with the promise of, like, we're going to get it's more they just kind of shut it down in the beginning, and then they shut it down in the middle of the season, and then they're still shutting it down at the end. And yeah, I don't, that's maybe where some of that axe grindiness come from. But I think it's also a function that would go down smoother with 2 or 3 more hours.
Perhaps. Yeah. I wouldn't say no to 2 or 3 more hours of this show, obviously. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think okay, so with more time, you could make Scott feel less one-dimensional, because I think if he began fabricating stories from a sort of quasi-understandable place, like say,
they have the groundwork there, which is, he needs to produce something to keep his job. That at least is something, if it comes from a place of desperation rather than just sort of a, banal evil, that would be good. That would help.
Yeah. Or like if he's frustrated, the initial serial killer scoop is not getting the attention that they think it should at first either. Okay. Or he's telling himself that
a direct mirror to what McNulty is doing. Yes, that would be
exactly.
something.
He's garnering more notoriety for the Sun, and that will stave off the next round of cutbacks for him and his colleagues or whatever. And he can pretty quickly abandon that concern when the attention on him opens up doors to higher levels. But to have him come right out of the gate being like, I do not care about this place. I only am doing this to leapfrog into the Washington Post or wherever. Like, the type of storytelling The Wire does could get him from, oh, I'm not doing this just for me. It's to also help out these other poor bastards around here who don't have or aren't going to make it as high as me anyway. And then like with a full season length, I think we could have gotten something like that gave it a little more dimensionality and maybe just, I think what a lot of people complain about these storylines season 5 and they complain about them on the terms of realism. And there's a couple different ways of looking at that. But one of it is just that there's a lot of developments here that make sense on paper, but they just occur at a slightly more rapid pace than we've become accustomed to from The Wire. And that throws people. In addition to what you were talking about, you mentioned earlier that general final season stuff, now that we're contracting entirely instead of expanding, once you see that the game clock ticking down, people get a lot less willing to extend, good faith to it. Like, now there's more weight on everything. Every shot counts so much. Can't be we'll get them next year.
Well, the choice of just taking it to a new place, to the newspaper office, which is, it's what The Wire does, but on the one hand, but it is a whole new environment and cast of characters to give a shit about, in the last season of a show. That's tough under any circumstances. Yes. I think it does make a lot of sense to go with the newspaper because it does kind of mirror what The Wire itself is doing as a piece of art. It's trying to get at a thing after a fashion. But yeah, it just doesn't get there. And maybe, it's not unsalvageable for certain. There's certainly ways this could have played out better, as you were saying. So,
no, cause I do think the scenes there are pretty good. And the Wire just has it down now. It's rhythms of the way it can put together the comparison, cut betweens of both the police and the newspaper doing their huddles to give marching orders for how to address the serial killer story, or just repeating the lines about someday I want to work for a real newspaper, someday I want to work for a real police department and see how they do it, type of thing. Like The Wire's got those muscles down at this point, so it is effective in the micro, and then in the macro you're kind of like, but this is The Wire. It has to be. Everything has to be more. Where's the Dickensian aspect?
I think Gus is a really good character to kind of hang it on. I don't remember the actor's name. I think he's a very obvious good
Clark
David
Johnson.
Simon. Yeah, he fits right into the world of this show. I'm not as
he directed the pilot of the show.
How about that shit? Wow.
Okay. And I think the pilot of The Shield, perhaps. He directed a lot of The Shield too.
Oh, he's a director.
Not a lot, but
that's interesting because Templeton, of course, is also a director. And
yes.
And he gives Tom McCarthy a very acting director style performance, as opposed to I would say Clark Johnson kind of nailing it.
Yeah, I think Clark Johnson's a case. Because Clark Johnson is also a regular on Homicide.
He looks at
prior show.
Yeah, he'd be good in the Mammoth play.
Homicide department.
Yeah,
yeah. He's not an actor with amazing range. I believe he's also cast as a homicide detective in Daredevil: Born Again.
I didn't remember that. Okay.
He's very comfortable in the Baltimore.
Oh shit, that was him. That was him. Of course. Yeah. Yes, I didn't remember that. Wow, that's fun. Yeah.
So okay, another reason though I think why maybe we have less reserves of patience for the newspaper stuff is there's a sense now where the civics lessons around the media that this is doing are kind of explaining why things don't change. And so appropriate maybe for journalism, there's kind of a passive voice thing going on rather than explaining why things are the way they are, as some of the other seasons do. The first couple. It explains why things aren't different, why things don't change, why when this terrible stuff occurs in your city, it doesn't produce any change. That's kind of the mission statement of season 3 also. But season 3 had the gang war storyline that drove the plot as hard as plot ever gets written on The Wire.
And Amsterdam, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. There's gangster stuff in season 5. That's for definitely.
Sure.
But Marlowe's also kind of unopposed by outside forces. other than
Indeed.
Omar for much of it.
Yeah.
And the Barksdales were always facing outside pressures in addition to their internal strife, which is more interesting than Marlowe's internal strife, I think.
Without
You know,
question.
they had Omar assailing them as well.
That was like
the
low down
internal-
the list for him.
Yeah. Because the internal workings of the Barksdales were always so much more interesting than the internal workings of Marlowe's crew, really. Like, Marlowe's crew is defined by a lack of interior lives. Really.
I've actually warmed up to the Marlowe crew in this go through. I think that they're a little more one dimensional for certain than prior. I really like Chris Partlow and Snoop. I think they're really fun.
I think season 4 brought everybody to really liking those two, but
Yeah.
they're not. Their dynamic is not as dramatically fraught as that between Stringer and Avon.
No.
Avon and D'Angelo. Yeah.
Marlowe himself, I've even warmed to though. I mean, he sucks. He's a real shitty guy, and he's not dramatically interesting in a way. But it does feel like a real dude. In a sense, you can be a banal person and maybe succeed in this sort of thing, just on nerve. And the actor is striking and kind of upsetting to spend time with. That's all to the good. I don't think he's quite got the charisma to do what they say he's doing, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's he's scary, and I do buy that.
It's scary is the most important thing.
Yeah,
which I guess he comes by default because there's so little else going on.
Yeah.
He accomplishes that. But you're right that Marlowe's just an absolute shithead this season.
He really is. Yeah,
it's not just that he's an empty murder demon or like the cavernous void of humanity that we know him to be at this point. But he's just like rude and such a fucking ingrate to every like Prop Joe.
Oh, the Prop Joe stuff
doing so much for him. Like Prop Joe's death obsessed me as much as anyone's on the show ever did. Like as much as Wallace and Bodie.
I totally forgot Prop Joe's death actually, which is crazy because it's such a perfect culmination to his arc, and I was just like, oh shit, I forgot that happened. And it's
it happens like one episode too fast.
Maybe.
Like
that one episode
is.
That one episode is a great episode, and it's the best Prop Joe episode of the show. So, I mean, yeah,
I really love the one where he does the voices on the payphone, and that's just one very fun scene.
But his death scene itself is wonderful. It's one of the best in the series, which is a series with some excellent death scenes. It's not the best, but it's up there.
No, I remember watching that on TV the first time and being like chilled and like that was and being like sad the rest of the night.
Yeah,
like we were doing watch parties with my friends when I was I was like 24 or something at the time, and
yeah, we did that.
And so like we did a night out after that, and I was like, this. I feel like I don't. I'm sorry. I'm still shook up about Prop Joe. Because the final scene is so like the presentation of it. So
it's fantastic.
It's so quiet and
the way he plays it. That might be his best acting moment of the show. That's the thing. He's so good. His performance is just excellent, and one of the highlights ultimately of the whole thing. It feels like by the end.
You know what was completely lost on me until this watch through was how Joe's death and Burrell's sort of career execution are paralleled within that episode.
Yeah.
Where, like Joe mentions that he went to high school with him.
Yeah, that's great.
And like, I remember they're doing that with Stringer and Colvin at the end of season 3. I forgot that, but I mean, because that's the finale of season 3. In some ways, the climax of the entire series. And here it's episode 4 of this truncated season.
This is a good argument for a longer season right here. There's a little more of this Prop Joe plot line.
Yeah.
Playing.
But even like Joe and Burrell, I'd given a lot of thought to them before, but how they're two guys that stayed in their jobs too long, probably.
Oh, yeah.
And paid the price for trying to run the same game they always had with a newer and younger administration had taken over and was playing things differently.
Holy shit, that's great. Yeah, I didn't even think of the Carcetti is Marlowe angle to that.
I mean, from Burrell's perspective, he absolutely is.
Yeah, cool. That's neat. That's the good Dickensian aspect stuff that we love from The Wire. That's really neat.
There you go.
So that's good. I don't mind any of that. I like where the respective plot lines for the Marlowe crew end up. Snoop's got a great death scene too. It's good stuff. And Chris Partlow, that's a performance that really stuck out to me this time through. He's terrific.
Yeah, no, that's a great performance.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But he's never given things to like as much to play as Stringer does. If he's occupying the number 2 role in the administration, then
well, yeah, he's not the Stringer Bell.
No, he's the Weebay.
He's the Luco Brazzi, or the Weebay, as it turns out.
We talk about. I mean, one way I think we can demonstrate how this is the weakest season on some sort of objective scale is it's about like is this the best season for this character, that character, whatever.
There were more than I expected.
I think
I can make
for season 5.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I got okay. The only one I have really is I think we said season 4 was the best Clay Davis. Year because
season 5 is best Clay Davis. Yeah,
I think we were wrong. Yes, Isaiah Whitlock is just crushing this season. Yeah. The way he daintily handles the photocopied checks in front of the grand jury with like 2 fingers is alone worthy of an Emmy in my book.
He's wonderful in this season.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And when he sees the reporters outside the courthouse and takes like the single beat to put on his game face, just chef's kiss stuff.
Excellent stuff. Yeah. I think this is the best. It's not major characters having their best season here, to be fair.
No.
It is side characters, minor characters, supporting characters. Rhonda, best season for Rhonda, I think. She gets some actual stuff to do. She has a big showdown with Levy at the end, who also has his best season.
She's got the most to do since the first season, so I guess this would be in contention there. I think part of it's that she is so integral to the wrap up of the Marlowe storyline, which is the like. Mm-hmm. I buy that they would drop this prosecution fast, but I believe that the contortions of, all right, you retire, or we're going to bring it back, like we're going to take it off the shelf later, and I don't buy that as a credible threat. It's like if you're not willing to prosecute 22 murders right now, I don't buy that you're going to be 6 months from now.
So
she's kind of. I think maybe that's why I didn't consider her.
It's still good stuff, and she gets a face off with Levy, which feels like it's been building all series, and he's great too. He has the most material to work with this year. That actor, who's I'd love the way he puts it.
I'll give you lead. I'll give you lead.
The way he puts it at the end is like, your case. There's shit in the blood of your case here. That's great.
There's a blood in the shit.
No, it's shit in the blood. It's which is really nasty.
Even worse.
And yeah, he has a lot of good stuff. Let's see who else is. I think Prop Joe has his best season.
He's out so early. Yeah, I think he's so good in 3 and 4.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like Michael and Duquan, I think you both are both out of contention.
Yeah,
immediately.
Yeah, I'd have to say.
I don't think it's. I mean, maybe Dominic West felt like he had the best stuff to play this season, but probably not. I mean, even season 1, he had more.
No, I have thoughts about that. We'll get to that, but I think you could make the case for Wendell Pierce.
The reason why I wouldn't is that he has to play one note so much.
It's true, but it's the note I'm feeling for most of this show.
Yes, which is crazy frustration. Which is against what the bunk's essence is, sort of his unruffled nature in the face of all this horror. That he is sort of the Jeff Lebowski of the Baltimore Police Department. And I guess it is kind of uplifting how he doesn't let the flood of bullshit tear him down, and
he handles it pretty well, frankly.
Yeah, he solves the case in spite of all of it. And there is one scene where McNulty like tries is like without he uses McNulty's resources to get the final lab work done, and McNulty's like without my bullshit you don't get that breakthrough. But it's also like, well, his lab work was also only at the back of the line behind all the McNulty's bullshit. So I don't think you get credit for that one, McNulty.
Okay. So that might be the end of the list.
Well, the other contender, I think, would be Bubbles.
No. Bubbles.
Well, because Andre Royo gets to play completely different things than the first 4 seasons kind of represent variations on a theme. And then he gets to do something different this year. I suppose that could apply to the Bunk and Wendell Pierce's performance as well. It's just that what Royo gets to do this year is more uplifting than what
Yeah.
Punk gets to. But the problem is, Bubbles' storyline here is good, but it's also he's often his own little indie movie that
Yes.
does not overlap with the other storylines whatsoever. Like even when he meets one of the newspaper reporters, that doesn't lead to anything important. Like it's really well acted.
That's always been like, one of the strengths of The Wire is the interconnectivity of everything, and this is probably the weakest.
The Dickensian aspect.
Yeah, I think mostly because of the newspaper thing feels, sort of not connected, really. But yeah, there's a couple little things like Bubbles and stuff that also just sort of plays out, as a coda to a story that's already taken place.
Right. Okay. So I think some people, like his resolution and consider that sort of a highlight of the series. So I kind of expected that to be where you would go before. I guess I wasn't thinking about Levy's prior seasons, but yeah. Every scene with him is really well written and it's well acted, but it's sort of at odds with what makes the Wire style of writing great, which is that Dickensian aspect that everything connects and it is suddenly unconnected from everything, and so I cannot say this is the best season for Bubbles on that note, even though it might be his best. If you were going to give Royo an acting Emmy, maybe this would be the year.
I don't know. I might have gone. Well, I think one is hard to beat in that regard.
True.
It's the most centrally. The most central Bubbles has ever felt was season 1.
He's pretty central in 4 still.
No, he's all over. Yeah, but this is, I think, the least central he's felt, as you said. So, so yeah, he's good, and it's good stuff. It's a little less punchy than some of the other things we're paying attention to, but it's nice to see a happy resolution, a realistically happy resolution for Bubbles. And again, that is somewhere where it remains elliptical. Like, it's not the end of his story, but it's where we're leaving him, and that's enough. I wish there was a little more of that in this season, maybe.
Yeah, I can buy that. I think we're both kind of jumping right by. This is not the best year for Lester, even though he is maybe his most proactive year. I guess he kind of is in 4 too.
Maybe. He's doing a thing, that's for certain. Well, let's talk about this then. We've been dancing around this the whole time. The fake serial killer plotline, man. Mm-hmm. This is the big swing of the season. How you feel about this is probably going to be centrally important to how you feel about the whole. And I am conflicted.
Well, using Lester as the way into that, then him getting on board so fast here, that is an about face for that character that I think the show just doesn't have time to sell that properly. And I think in a less contracted season, you could have him spend the first part of the season focused on the Clay Davis case, and when that falls apart, that's his career case where he's been saying since season 1, you follow the money. That's what's going to be the big actual payoff to all this work. And after that falls apart, having him be more receptive to it makes a lot of sense. And again, they go through all the beats here. It's just all pretty fast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, as soon as he hears about it, he's on board.
Right. We are not on board from the start, though.
No, I feel like Bunk through pretty much the whole season, honestly. I don't think that this makes sense for these characters. I think that McNulty, I think they do a pretty good job of explaining that why he would go for this. They do the work on this. They kind of present him as a bit more self-destructive and just sort of desperate. And at the end of his rope, it is contextually justified by the guy we've known for 4 seasons. We see him fucking up every other aspect of his life with his alcoholism and his irresponsibility. I'm like, okay, I guess I can buy that he would do this. I guess it doesn't seem in character, but we're at the end of our rope here, maybe, and ultimately he was going to have some spectacular flame out. Lester has afforded none of that, unfortunately. We just have to kind of buy him that it makes sense.
We've talked some about the new season House of the Dragon right now too, and I have some thing there of okay, with McNulty here, we have all of the context for him to make this decision. We're not confused buy what he's doing here.
Yeah.
And we see how he get there. That like the performance is dialed in enough that he can get that across very quickly. And it's not that it falls completely on its face. It's just that with a longer buildup, it would be more effective. That these turns and these developments, and not just, oh, I see what happened there. It would feel it on a sort of deeper level. It would be my contention. That's where that you're doing less with less. You're not doing more with less.
Yeah. It is fundamentally like a bigger kind of swing narratively than this show usually takes. It feels like a Shield plot line or something. You know, it feels a little more removed from reality than.
It's a lot closer to that. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
It gets dinged for by fans for being unrealistic. But is the fake serial killer more unrealistic than Hamsterdam?
Well, I probably not when you get to it. I think it's a matter of presentation. And,
yes.
We know these characters. And the shorthand to get them to where they are, perhaps it is a season-length issue, does feel a little bit, not in character, especially with Lester.
Yes, I think it comes together more quickly as a problem in the presentation. It's also a less sympathetic scheme.
Very much so. Yeah.
Where you buy that Colvin does think this will be good. And
I'm almost
I guess
convinced.
I believe that, yeah. You're not even at the end. You're not convinced that it would be a negative change, but
when it felt so impactful and bad when Carver moves a body 50 feet across the street, that McNulty and Lester are doing this shit. It seems like, well, we're in the realm of television.
Yeah,
now.
they're doing they're doing something that's 5 times worse than that, and they're doing it 5 episodes earlier in the season. And the other thing, like, okay, Lester asks, he finds out about, he asks, like, who cares if we fake a couple murders we're never going to solve anyway? The dead men don't care, is what he says, and I just immediately recoil from that and go, well, bullshit. Like,
yeah,
the dead men, their families, whatever loved ones they had, like
they go into
they would
detail
care and do care
about how the families are really upset and destroyed by this shit. Yeah,
and that is something that homicide detectives would understand better than anyone else on Earth. There's a refrain in the homicide TV show and the book that it's based on that Simon, meticulously sourced by being embedded with him for years. With it, the detectives describe their work as saying, "We speak for the dead." And
fuck,
like,
wow,
having Bunk be the voice of that is fine. Having Lester and Jimmy suddenly be like, they don't understand that concept when they've worked these jobs for years, bumps on me. And I think it was way less sympathetic for me this time as a more grown person. For a lot of crime fiction over the years, a motivating factor for, like, why is it important we solve this case, this cold case? And I would see the detective characters talk about giving closure to the family.
Yeah, it's in many it's a narrative device in many, many detective stories. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I think in my 20s, I did not take that very seriously. I was like, well, that's good enough to keep the story moving. But it's like, is anybody in silence, like, really going to be comforted to find out that their daughter who disappeared was actually, killed and eaten by the Minnesota Shrike or whatever? Like, like, that's not going to be better for them. So they're better. Maybe they're just as well off not knowing. And life has taught me differently now. Like, I don't want to get into too big of a bummer thing, but now I've had an experience of a loved one who, I fell out of contact with, found out they died a couple years later, and I still have not. I don't know what happened exactly there, but from what I've been able to narrow down, there's a couple of options that all seem really bad to me, and any one of those things, as even like the worst of the worst, is something I probably could eventually accept, and but in the not knowing, I don't get to do that, and I have to live with all of them simultaneously, and that really sucks. And people like Lester Freeman should understand that dynamic intimately.
I mean, I guess the fact that it's homeless victims, I guess that plays into it. I mean, obviously it's necessary for the story to exist in the way it does. But yeah, I mean, the show also goes out of its way to show that, no, these people are not just completely anonymous. They have social connections, and they have people who are devastated by this news. So yeah, I mean, obviously Lester would know this. McNulty would know this. And beyond just the moral ramifications of this, they know what kind of fire they're playing with here.
Right.
They know what this would cost them were it to come out. They know that if they can't successfully close the loop on this, any good work they have on Marlowe is just thrown out. It's just useless evidence, very, very obviously, if any of this is revealed. And the odds of this coming revealed seem fairly high.
Very high.
It's so self-defeating.
The other thing of expecting police detectives to be, moral paladins that wouldn't do this, there's just professional pride to it that you don't. We work in murders. You don't fuck around with murders and other people's ability to solve them. Or you don't create murders that don't exist that won't be solved because I don't know. I mean, if you're working in a restaurant, you don't. Maybe you can spit in your own hamburger and serve it to your patron. You don't spit in the next waiter's hamburger. That's just not done in a professional context there.
Not by these guys. Not by if this was I don't know, if Herc was doing this shit, I'd be like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't know if he fell in with a bad crowd that was mean to him, maybe.
So we're not on board with the scheme from the start, right?
Right.
That's part of why it comes off better in Amsterdam. I think there's also a kind of sense where maybe everyone gets one for free, and the second time around, we don't give the show the same benefit of the doubt.
Amsterdam is a very simple idea at its core.
It is. That's true. I guess that's another thing. Yeah, we do this. It's broader in scope, but it is a simpler concept than there's multiple steps here. It's a little bit of the underwear gnomes meme from South Park. Step 2 is a lot of question marks, and step 3 is profit.
And they mostly walk us through that, but yeah, even still, it's a crazy idea to come up with on the fly at a fucking murder scene as it is presented here, and it's just sort of God damn it, McNulty, what are you doing? This is not.
But I do wonder. Part of the right way into this was if McNulty or fake serial killer plotline had occurred in season 3, and Amsterdam had been saved for season 5. Would people be critiquing Amsterdam's realism more harshly just because it was the second time we've been asked to make a big leap and stretch suspension of disbelief in this manner?
I don't think so, though, because Amsterdam is on its face, I think, just a lot more logical, a lot more something that we can get behind as an audience.
Just simpler. That's
that's the key. And that simpler. It's a better plan in every respect. and there's so many obvious things that immediately occur to you with this fake serial killer plot that sort of wait a minute though, and that I think is the issue. Look, this is the first complaint everyone has about season 5, I think, is this plot line seems a little far-fetched. And I do have to say, this time through, I kind of was okay, this actually does bring out some, character stuff and, societal ideas that are interesting, that is sort of grist for the show to play with. That the stuff we've been talking about, that is the stuff I think that everyone kind of bumps up against. But ultimately, I think it does an okay job with this plot line, and I think the actors are really keyed in. Clark Peters is going to make this as believable as possible. McNulty does great. This is a great season for Dominic West, even as it's slightly a bit of character assassination. He sells it very well, and you got people like Bunk doing stuff in the corner. It works essentially as it goes on. If you can flow with the premise, if you can accept it, I think it's okay, and I think it does good wire stuff once you get there. It's just a bit more of a buy-in than usual for this show.
Yeah, like I said, I think that buy-in might be strained by having Amsterdam already happened. But there, like, we kind of went on, there's other reasons why, again, that
Yeah, maybe.
the levels of complexity here there's a lot more. Really, you think this is going to work out?
I mean, it is sort of that last season thing too. A little. It's just like, okay, well, this is plainly a mechanism to resolve these characters' plot lines a little bit. That's what.
So another last season issue, I guess. Circles back to this. We're talking about having less patience with the journalism subplot, because now, like, the ways of the show at this point, the Tao of the Wire has become more understood among the audience and more directly articulated, so that we're, even in 2008 when this airs the first time, I feel like we in the audience were pretty well aware that the Baltimore Sun was not going to be able to defeat the forces of civic dysfunction in some ways that, like, the police department, the labor unions, and the school system hadn't been able to pull off. So on top of, like, how the journalist characters, they're grown-ups with greater degrees of remove from the direct danger of the crime stuff, there's also just more impatience, I guess, with waiting to see how Gus winds up in the same kind of exile that Colvin and Daniels and McNulty have all been sent off to in prior seasons. Like, and like the show even seems aware, like the finale doesn't even bother showing us the scenes where Gus and Alma are demoted or relegated down to the farm league. They just kind of cut in afterwards and with them commiserating about how that, yeah, well, we kind of saw this coming, didn't we? I'm like, yeah, the audience did too.
And I thought they'd at least serve us Templeton come up in some. Nope, not at all. No. Real axe grindy, I think.
Yeah. And okay, like, The Wire is an American tragedy, and tragedy trades on inevitability, right? But I think I would also argue that tragedy succeeds to the extent that it can trick the audience into hoping for outcomes that they would know can't happen if they stop to think about it. And that's getting harder and harder for The Wire to pull off.
That's good. That's good.
In future iterations.
Well, that's maybe why they feel the need to kind of juice it a little bit with some of these more outlandish plot lines, perhaps.
And to stop at 5, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe if this wasn't going to be the last season. Although, I don't know. This seems like this is where the show needs to end, really. I don't know. Maybe I'm so familiar with the shape of it that I can't imagine a season 6 of this, but it really does feel like, a plot structure arc, It's rising and falling action, kind of falling directly into place with the epilogue of season 5. And I don't know. I guess they could theoretically proceed, forever with a cast that is completely changing. It's not structured in the way that, you would need McNulty there or whatever as season 4.
And it's not like we stopped hearing about the stories of police dysfunction coming out of Baltimore in the subsequent 20 years.
Right.
So I compare season 5 to season 4, right? I think by then, but even by season 4, there have been some of that familiarity of we learned the Tao of the Wire and internalized it to a degree, and yet the outcomes there did not feel nearly as inevitable to me. Trying to parse why that would be.
I think it's because they're less narratively constructed. I think that every single, like, the stuff that happens in season 4 is narratively pretty mundane. It is, there's no big things that occur. Like, there's like one incident in every one of those kids' lives that kind of sends them off in a direction, and it just sort of follows naturally from that. This is like big kind of plot mover stuff. There's schemes and conspiracies and lies to kind of keep hidden, and people. There's a lot of secrets and TV bullshit, for lack of a better term, going on in season 5 that season 4 has no dealings with.
That's kind of true. I never didn't really think about that. The Wire does sometimes get classified as part of the anti-hero prestige TV thing.
It doesn't really fit for me, but I get it.
No, and I think mostly that's around that people would consider Stringer Bell to be the anti-hero figure.
Or McNulty.
The early seasons. But this is where McNulty, I guess season 5, what I mean is season 5 is where he is behaving like a TV anti-hero to this degree, where he's got he's got a Vic Mackey scheme he's running.
Yes, and up to this point, I would say he was doing more Don Draper shit.
Yes, I think that there you go.
Just sort of a wastrel and an alcoholic, and a disappointment in many ways. But
Well,
still,
the thing that makes
like a good
Don Draper
police. Yeah.
even a more pure TV antihero than McNulty even is that not because Don Draper is committing crimes on the level of Walter White or Vic Mackey, but because his entire life is a lie.
There is that.
And
yes. Mm-hmm.
Season 5 is the first time where McNulty's whole life is really a lie. His life's a mess in the earlier seasons.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He is a less pure figure than the rogue detective might have been in earlier versions of a crime story like this. But now he's living the lies, and that's where the anti-hero TV really lives.
That's true. Yeah.
The other reasons why the season 4 felt that the outcomes there felt less inevitable to me. One, I think is probably a good move to have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Because if it was 1 or 2 kids, we'd kind of know the outcomes they're heading for. But with 4, they're heading different directions. There could be different things happening on. And the fact that they're kids, just imperiling the kids activates different, more primal levels of empathy than we get from putting adults in danger. And again, we're not even putting these adult journalists in direct danger.
No.
And then 2, season 4 was such just a bold reset narratively. In terms, we're putting a whole new criminal empire in charge of things, and we're rearranging the positions of so many of our police heroes.
And just the protagonists are 4 children that we've never seen before. It's huge. That's huge,
Yeah, and shows didn't do that.
Yeah.
Maybe some people have tried something like it since then. No one's pulled off it successfully, and I think there was just some level where the audacity of those narrative shifts distracted me from the sort of how tight the thematic straitjacket of The Wire really is when it comes to the plot. And I'm sure at the time I wasn't thinking exactly these terms, but somewhere in my brain was probably thinking well, maybe things can end differently this time around just because of how different everything looks throughout season 4. There's all these new faces, these new places where the old faces are showing up. McNulty's sober the entire season. Anything could happen now. Nobody would have thought that was possible. And then so coming off of that, season 4 kind of established The Wire, that this gold standard for reinventing itself mid-run. And then as you get into season 5, it's becoming more apparent how The Wire can reinvent its cast, but it can't really change its spots.
Yeah.
At its core, it's about these external economic forces and institutions, and how they force people into positions that those institutions require them to be in to function, or to not to function, as the case may be. But that means that this journalism storyline can kind of only be going to one place. And I'm more aware of that than I am with the school system when I was introduced to that part.
Well, I mean, that's true. I feel like, I don't know, there's a way to have done it where it wasn't quite so didactic, where the journalism stuff wasn't so obviously hero and villain. Here's what represents good journalism versus bad journalism. If there was nuance and, well, frankly, more going on other than we got to get this Templeton motherfucker for most of the season is that. And he has no shading at all. It's just sort of basic on a level the show hasn't generally operated on up to this point. There's the things we complain about with the fake serial killer story, but that stuff is all full of nuance. All those scenes are good. All the scenes with Lester Freeman. He's still Clark Peters playing this character. With the writing staff of The Wire working for him. The journalism stuff feels like, honestly, feels like new showrunners came in and tried to do something like The Wire. That's what it feels like.
Maybe.
I mean, they have the dialogue down, and Gus is a great deliverer of it. But yeah, the thematic underpinnings. I think honestly, the newspaper stuff is probably the biggest anchor on the season, more so than the serial killer stuff.
And it's a little. I mean, the way you put it there, it was a little more harsh than I wanted to be on it.
Sorry,
but I don't.
I don't dislike the
season. It's not an inaccurate assessment. The thing is, The Wire has converted me and has affected my worldview. I think of all these problems as first and foremost structural problems. before we get down to like the individual writers, writing better lines than others or whatever. It is, and let's go back and listen to our House of the Dragon conversations as well. At this point, you'll hear me talk a lot about structural decisions and how they put you in trying to finesse your way out of bad structural decisions is always going to be an uphill fight. And going from 13 episodes to 10 meant that this whole season's going to be going kind of uphill. As we end here, I wanted a couple of fine grace notes that stray notes that I loved. I love the scene where Herc and Carver are in the parking lot, and Herc kind of accepts Carver's growth into a good police officer.
A great scene. Oh, it's so good.
Like, he doesn't get defensive about like Carver's judgment that Herc deserved to be fired. That's one of the show's best moments.
Oh, so good. Man, I love that. What a great...
Dominic Lambarzi doesn't get to do understated very often, or get to show maturity as Herc, but for that one scene...
He quietly has a very good season here, actually. Mm-hmm. Working for Levy, all that stuff is good. And I like that his just sort of unprofessionalism is what ultimately breaks the case. That's very old school Wire.
Yeah, like his grace note is that he finds a way to be just as bad of a private investigator as he was as a police officer, and that's his redemption.
Yeah, he's great this season. Yeah, I love that scene. That's a wonderful scene. You're right.
Yeah. Also, I love Kima asking Carver for advice on like when it comes time to go against her fellow cops.
That was great too.
What a great moment! Like
Kima finally, yes, something for Kima to do that's worthwhile. I mean, that I bought.
And Carver, just like how far both those characters in that relationship has come. Because in the first season, she would never ask him for advice about shit. It would have to be the other way around. But that relationship has not been much of a focus for several seasons. Kima arguably hasn't been that much of a focus for the Demons, but I think her final role in it is good. And I mean, I suppose McNulty and Lester accepting that she ratted them out at the end is the same note as the Herc and Carver one. It's just less effective, I guess, because I really didn't see the Herc and Carver one coming.
I mean, those characters, man, they're really terrific, really, really fantastic, sort of Greek chorus style figures on the outskirts of the main story throughout this whole season. They're some of my favorites, honestly. New to this watch through, I think that I really come to appreciate Herc and Carver. Really great performances. And,
also, just wonderful note. I mean, it's a small thing, but of McNulty always stealing a newspaper out of the boxes when somebody else has paid for them. Of course, he'd be that type of cheapskate.
What do you think of all the little guest appearances from the Wire seasons past here? There's some that are fun. I thought I liked seeing Poot at the knockoff Foot Locker. That was good.
That one's really good. The fact that he his explanation for how he made the escape that none of the other characters have is just got old, man. It's got time.
Yeah, it's great. I love that.
He didn't have a moral awakening exactly or whatever. It just he just got lucky enough. He's like, I don't know, man. If I stay out here, eventually I'm going to roll a 7, and it's going to be over for me. And that was enough of a motivator.
Pablo Schreiber, I kind of thought that was cute.
And naming him the better version is Johnny 50 under the bridge.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, all those are good individually. Maybe they stack up to eventually start to feel a little too cute and give you that, contribute to that final season feeling of unreality to a bit. But,
the extent to which Naaman is doing well is maybe a little silly.
Yeah.
But this makes you feel good. Makes you feel good to see.
I think if you're gonna show Randy as you show him here, you gotta at least show Naaman as doing all right.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, poor Randy. Okay. Well, man, hey, this has been great. This has been, what a show, man. I got to say, The Wire, it's a really good show, as it turns out. I thought it was very strong.
It does turn out, yeah.
Yeah, very, very good.
They should make more shows like this.
Right? Yeah. Why don't they make more Wire?
with with like ideas and writers who know about the things they're writing about. That's an interesting idea. Maybe somebody will pick it up someday.
Have you? How far have you gotten with the rest of David Simon's television work?
I watched Generation Kill when it came out. Don't remember it very well, other than the guy who played Ziggy on The Wire was quite good on it.
Sure. That makes sense.
I fell off Treme maybe after the first season.
Yep, first season of Treme. I want to go back to it now, actually. I think I would appreciate Treme more.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of it too. Show Me a Hero is very good.
Yeah, the Oscar
We Own
Isaac
the City
one.
is excellent. Yeah.
Which one's Oscar Isaac? That's Show Me a Hero.
That's We Own the City.
Oh.
We Own the City is John Bernthal.
Yes.
Show Me a Hero is Oscar Isaac.
I have not seen the Bernthal one. So the Isaac.
Oh, you do it. That's the closest to The Wire, The Next Generation that you're going to get.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I'm down with that. All right. None of them have had the cultural impact, of course, that The Wire has.
No, but that's just the balkanization of television and media overall.
It's a hard bar to clear anyway. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that Treme actually does a very good job of kind of capturing the flavor and tone and spirit of the city in the way that The Wire does. It's just that there's without a crime angle or police to kind of hang stuff on and do TV stuff with. You get a lot of like, well, I don't really care about these buskers,
Right.
It's just a little harder to keep momentum going when, we're talking about like, academics and, shit like that.
The Wire is not a, crazy steam engine of plot the way that other, crime shows tend to be. You're The Shield or Breaking Bad or whatever.
Of course.
But man, it has momentum compared to Treme.
Yeah, that's the thing about Treme. But still, that is an interesting show with a good cast, some neat ideas. I would like to give it another go. That had similarly truncated seasons and fucking with it that apparently affected it as it went on. But that first season's not bad. So maybe I'll pick that up. I don't know. I would like to, but you know how time is these days.
Yeah. And I think if we're going to continue it, we're going to probably stay in a crimier genre mold. If I don't see us doing Treme in this manner.
I don't think anybody would listen to that. Like no one watched Treme, sadly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I did want to do something here at the end of our Wire coverage. I almost got a cameo from a Wire actor. I gave it a look, and there were some very reasonably priced ones. You can get Weebay for like $50, but I just sort of missed my window of opportunity on that. Might have been
my
fun.
birthday will come up next year. So.
Well, you got a Weebay message coming for you then.
I love that guy. Do you want to do a quick ranking of the seasons?
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
There's something there. So I think we both everybody puts 5 at the bottom.
Yeah. Like nothing's changed for me, honestly. Yeah, it's 5 at the bottom. 2.
After that, I think I go 1.
Okay. I go 1 for third.
Okay. And then so for me the only thing, okay, we both put 4 at the top.
Yeah.
4 at the top.
3, 1, 2, 5.
We agree on that.
Yeah.
Okay. I might put 2 in second place. To me, it's a question. It's 2 and 3 are neck and neck for second place. And it is it all depends on what criteria you're using, because season 3 probably has more higher highs in a way, but season 2 is after season 1, it's the most complete object on its own right. And season 3 cannot stand on its own to me because all of its high highs are coming up from being part 2 of season 1. That's why
it's a TV show. It's a TV show. Well, that's how they work. There's a cumulative effect.
If I was going to watch one season outside of a series rewatch, season 2 will give me the complete arcs and stories of the Sabakas and the Greeks, and B.D. Russell, and season 3 will complete the arcs of a lot of people. But if I haven't gotten to watch season 1 to lead into it, then it doesn't kind of stand on its own. And it's like
Are you ever going to watch one season in isolation, though? I mean, I'm
Of
not.
this series,
Yeah.
especially, especially no.
Yeah.
But I think there's something about that. I mean, it depends how you rate them. Like if we're talking about movies, right? We
Sure.
probably are going to say that a self-contained movie is better than the middle part of a trilogy. When you stack them side by side,
It is at odds with the medium of television, though, essentially. There's a cumulative effect of multiple episodes and seasons. That's what is good about this medium, that it can do that movies cannot do.
good about this series more than any other, really.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Or any series, really. Like what if you were going to watch one season of Game of Thrones in isolation? Which would it be? It would have to be one. I mean, the point is that it builds and hits a fever pitch at some point. That's the fun of it, really. And
That's true.
and
And I guess like there's a way that the season 3 probably has the most aspects of The Wire going on simultaneously. Whereas,
yeah, well,
because
I'll tell
sometimes
you.
those early seasons can feel incomplete. Where like Game of Thrones, for example,
Sure.
season 1 doesn't introduce half these houses that are very important later on. Season 1 of The Wire isn't going to give you any of the city hall stuff, any of the politicians or the schools or Marlowe and this crew, whatever. Season 3 gets you the Barksdales and the Marlows 2 for the price of 1.
It's true, and season 3, I'll tell you, is breathing down the neck of season 4 for me. It moved up. It came really a lot closer to being my favorite season of the show. Didn't quite beat 4, but it's close. And I think the reason is it gives me a little of that television bullshit without going over the top. It gives me just a touch more narrative momentum and week to week kind of intrigue. That I would expect from something like The Shield without fundamentally losing what is so great about The Wire in the first place. Am I worried that makes me a more banal Wire watcher? Maybe a little, but ultimately, I enjoy The Shield very much too, man. I think that there is a place for having sort of breakneck pacing.
I'm not trying to look down my nose at enjoying plot, because I think that people dismiss plot at their own peril. But I guess my thing is just that as a complete meal, season 2 can give me the beginning, middle, and end of all these character storylines. Season 3 can give me the end of the Barksdale storyline. It can give me the beginning of the Marlowe storyline. On its own, it seems like it gives me a complete Bunny Colvin arc, but knowing season 4 is coming, it's actually the first half of the Bunny Colvin arc. That there's more coming for Prez. There's everybody except for maybe Stringer Bell has either more ahead or more behind. And season 2, and then season 4 even weirdly feels a complete arc for those kids, even though I know Michael and Dookie go on into the next season and have other stuff going on. Well, Michael doesn't have a lot else going on.
Yeah. It lands in a place with them, though. Like I would say that of all the seasons, 4 is the one that works best in isolation for me, simply because it is establishing so much new shit. Obviously, knowing what Prez has been through leading up to that point makes season 4 better. But I think that's true of season 2 as well. Like you're not going to care as much about the street corner shit in season 2 if you didn't watch season 1.
Yeah, that's the Barksdale stuff. There is really does not stand on its own as a satisfy. You get the end of D'Angelo's arc, but that doesn't mean a lot without the beginning. Okay, you might be bringing around this too, because I think I'm trying to argue season 2 as stronger for its standalone qualities. But I think you're right that is also, that's arguing it to be the better season of The Wire by working against everything that makes The Wire special.
No, I take your point, though. I mean,
not everything, but one of the things.
It is a complete experience, and it is like it stands on its own as a season of television in a way that 3 maybe doesn't as much, because it is a complete beginning, middle, and end for the Doc boys, the stevedores. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. But it's a panoply. It's one piece of a tapestry.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
all the pieces matter.
Just so. Man, my wife is going to be happy that I'm done watching The Wire, because maybe I'll stop saying "indeed" as much as she's picked up. Like, why are you saying "indeed" in response to me so much? It's because the fucking Wire. Oh, indeed.
Oh, she's gonna love it when we move on into Deadwood.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, no, she's like, oh, so you're going to be telling me how great Deadwood is again for a while, huh? I was like, yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's coming in some form from us in the near future. I don't know exactly what, but we need to talk about goddamn Deadwood.
Yeah, that's both of our favorites.
Yeah. Okay, I did have one thing prepared here for you. Which I needed something. I didn't get the cameo, but I did ask ChatGPT to pitch me, what is it here? An episode of The Wire where everyone goes to Disney World in the style of the old TGIF sitcoms. And thought I'd give you some highlights from this, what it gave me here. So this, if you recall, when, like Family Matters, Step by Step, they would go to Disney World because ABC was owned by Disney, and they, cross-promotional synergy.
Sure, I understand the premise. Yeah. I don't understand the point. Which I think puts me on equal footing with ChatGPT.
Opens with the quote, "In West Baltimore, life can be rough, but sometimes you gotta ride that stuff." Avon Barksdale.
What? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ride that stuff.
That's what it came up with. After winning an all-expense-paid Disney vacation in a citywide raffle nobody remembers entering, literally every major character from The Wire ends up at Disney World for the same weekend, and nobody questions this. It's got for me. Opening credits involve a montage of freeze frames with McNulty getting splashed by a dolphin, Bunk dropping an ice cream cone, Omar winking at the camera while wearing mice ears, and Marlowe standing completely expressionless in front of the Cinderella castle.
Okay, so it's actually kind of good.
Yeah, let's see. We got McNulty intending to spend the weekend drinking, and his kids insist on spending time with it. And so he's constantly trying to find alcohol, but keeps participating in wholesome activities. A princess asks him, "What kingdom are you from?" And he answers, "Baltimore." Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. Omar versus Line. He's trying to ride Space Mountain, but people keep cutting ahead of him, and it's getting frustrating. So he does famous Farmer in the Dell whistle, and the line clears away, and he gets on the ride. Let's see. Marlo wants to meet Mickey. Yeah.
This is much okay. It's chosen a lane. I'm surprised that it's better than I thought it would be because it chose the TGIF lane.
Yeah,
filled that in with Wire characters more than trying to do a Wire episode at Disneyland.
Precisely. Yeah.
Which I thought it might, like the Six Flags side plot might have really thrown sand in its gears. In fact, no, if we can just do a whole episode that's in the Wire world, but no, they're in TGIF world.
They're in TGIF world. Yeah, and this is my favorite here. Marlo and Chris Bartlow Snoop watching a parade, and Marlo points at Mickey on the float, leans over to Chris, says, "He's a king. He owns everything. And there ain't nobody trying him." Okay.
I mean, when you're right, Marlo.
So that's it, basically. There's more to it, but those are the highlights. So there you go. Just something I thought we'd end on.
Yeah, I guess we have to end on sort of something that has depressing implications for the future of America. That's the only way to end the Wire retrospective.
Indeed.